Thanks for choosing to listen to this Late Night Linux Family podcast. We're only able to do this because of the people who support us. None of our shows are paywalled, but our Patreon supporters can get most episodes early and never hear any ads. Learn more at latenightlinux.com/support or support us by telling a friend or colleague about everything we do. Hello and welcome to episode 399 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 10th of August 2026. I'm Joe, and with me are Félim.
Howdy.
Chris.
Hello.
And Sean.
Hola.
Thanks for sticking around, Chris and Sean.
You know what you got into this time. All right, this is the second episode.
Chris and Sean, you both use bootc desktop versions of Linux. We used to call that sort of thing immutable, now composable, atomic. There's a lot of names for it. The likes of Silverblue, basically. I want to know about this. So I think the first question is, what is bootc?
So bootc itself is just a binary dedicated to the lifecycle and management of bootable container images. That's what bootc stands for. And that's all it is. The magic really comes from all the other pieces that you need to make an image. And for those, it just relies on the standard OCI format, right? Whatever Docker or Podman is, whatever, any tools that work with that, you can use.
Right. How can you have a bootable container? Like, a container is something that you run on top of an operating system, I thought.
So a container really is kind of all the bits that you need to run an application besides the kernel. And then it just kind of uses the shared kernel. It spawns an instance and it does whatever the container image says it's going to do. So that's how you can get a lot more bang out of your buck, where you can have, 20, 30 containers running, whereas if you had a VM, that's a whole entire separate instance of a kernel per VM. That's a lot of overhead. That's what an OCI container is. So what happens is you just take the OCI container, that's basically everything except kernel, and then you just stick it in a kernel. That's pretty much what a bootable container is, with some bootloader magic put in there.
Okay, and so how does this apply to the desktop then? Like, how do you take this bootc image and make it into something that I can run on a laptop?
Yeah, so there's actually a couple different ways. The easiest way is probably to do what I call the hostile takeover, very much kind of a Nix approach or a cloud approach, where you pull an image, and if you're running Fedora or you're running any of the RHEL distributions, you should have the bootc package available to you. You install that, and then you do bootc install to disk, or you can even do install to file system, and then the image itself. And then boom, it'll just plop it on the disk. You're done. Reboot, you'll be in your image.
I was reading about that the other day because I've not done that. But yes, you can take an existing traditional Red Hat or kind of Red Hat based system that was installed traditionally and convert it without a reinstall, right?
That's right. It's a little more aggressive than I like, but if it works, it works.
I was at the recent Canonical Summit, and we had a cool guy there, Joseph Moreno, and he was showing us how that's now Ubuntuized as well. So they have an Ubuntu version of the same thing. And yeah, he took over an image just like that as well, which I thought was really cool, because the advantage to that would be the fact that you could set up a system sort of golden image for your office or your network or whatever, and then you could then convert it to that nice and easy, which, because prior to this it was like, oh yeah, you need all this big build infrastructure, which it's just like, no, this just I don't want to be a distribution myself. I want to let the distribution do the distribution stuff, whereas this kind of allows you to have the best of both worlds almost.
Yeah, so it's interesting you bring that up, because Joe, you forefronted this with desktop Linux, which I'm running and Sean is running, but it does cross over into my professional life, because fleet management might be an installation of Red Hat at the moment, and then you might use SaltStack, Ansible, Puppet, pick your poison. But then when you're running changes, you have an agent or you push. This would be you run an OCI registry on premises, sign the images, and then when you upgrade, you just do a bootc upgrade. And it's much like upgrading a Flatpak application because it's layered. Because the common misconception is, oh, I have to pull a whole container in, I have to pull in a whole up. No, it's not like that. It sort of diffs as it pulls in. So in my workplace, we're running kind of Red Hat level 9 and looking towards 10 when we upgrade, rather than use something like XCAT or Foreman that you might have done in the old days. You're looking forward to, it ensures that you can have a central registry, and the parity of the nodes is much more tightened, I guess, because you're pulling from that central registry and it's hashed. So, okay, these nodes are all running that image, instead of doing something like Puppet or Ansible, which is doing on an install, post-install, after a kickstart, the package management commands and things. So the idea of drift starts to possibly become, these things all do work, but I've seen them not work. And I can already see in my mind from running it on the desktop, the possibilities for a broader fleet management model that updates the stuff that we've been using previously.
So that update thing then, you're telling me that it's atomic. That's why we use that word atomic. Like, say you've got an image that is at least a couple of gigabytes, but then you've just got a few security updates. You don't need to pull down a whole new image. You just pull down the diff, essentially.
And then deploy. Yeah.
That's right. That's the difference between the implementation that like SteamOS has, where you have to download like the whole disk image all over again, versus reusing what Docker and Podman and that whole industry has come up with. And you can even get even smaller deltas, right? Different layers due to compression. So in fact, you don't even have to download as much data as you actually are going to expand onto your disk.
But it helps with rollback, Sean, right? So, we have heterogeneous nodes in our huge cluster. So we might run a bootc update on them and then notice a certain portion of them have a problem with that update. And so we just roll back, and it's a lot quicker than maybe doing a redeploy and rerunning Puppet or trying to go to snapshots. And yes, Joe, you love ZFS. There's all sorts of file systems and Btrfs and snapshotting. But this is slightly different because the deployment remains, and you just repin and redo the boot order, and it's just there to get you back up on your feet on the previous deployment again until you're ready to roll again, which is what I've been doing on my local desktop as well since I've been running it. I've needed to do it because we'll get into this, Félim, but KDE Plasma, there's been a couple of times where it's left me with bugs I don't like. And previously, when I've tried Plasma, I haven't had the flexibility to go back as quickly to be, okay, that doesn't work. And now the recovery is literally just reboot, press down twice in Grub, and I'm back where I was 2 seconds ago. And yes, Snapper and package managers can integrate Btrfs, Snapshot, ZFS, but this is like that, but better almost, at least for me.
That's a lie, and you take that back, Chris, because Plasma never has bugs.
Oh yeah, famously never has bugs.
Yes,
yeah.
never would have a bug.
Yeah,
yes.
I definitely didn't write a small shell script that gets run by cron every 15 minutes to kill KDE Connect, because at the moment it's broken and it actually breaks my file viewer. If I right click anything, it just fucks up. So for the last week, I've been sat with that. I mean, the bug's there, it's been fixed. I'm just waiting on the patch, but yeah, that is annoying when that happens.
Yeah, so you could, in this system we're talking about, just roll back a deployment that's already there on disk waiting to boot. So it's literally just a case of bringing up your bootloader of choice.
How do you find the discrepancy, though, between, rolling back for a small update to an app, or it may be, I want to add an app, and then it's like, yeah, you've got to re-download the image and you have to do all this. Like, how do you find that, when you have a fine-grained sort of install, like apps, very quickly you can build your system up, you can change things, and unless it's a kernel or libc or something like that, you don't have to restart. Whereas, you're more in that restart world, everything's treated like a blob. Even if you change a tiny bit, it's all taken as a blob in the grand scheme of things.
But isn't the point of this that all your applications are Flatpaks?
Yes and no. It's interesting because KDE Linux have really gone for this. So if you look at the documentation for it, they're still writing it and it's still not finished. But the only things on offer are that model. So Flatpak, DistroBox, and Homebrew. So we're talking about user space installations. And now that libvirt and GNOME boxes are Flatpaks, that increases the possibility that you don't have to layer those packages in like you might do into your base operating system install. But yes, I will concede, Félim, the early days of installing it, there were a few things I worked out I just needed to have close to the metal. So installing them was a case of deploying and rebooting. The flip side of that is if I deleted my machine, I could just get back there very, very quickly because it's just a container file that I'm very used to from my day-to-day at work. And it just puts me back where I was very quickly. So yes, you can do live switching with some of the RPM OS tree layering, but they're moving away from that to bootc. And bootc is faster, better. But yeah, Nate and the team on KDE Linux are all in on this. We handle the operating system, and your application should be in user space. So the operating system deployments don't affect Flatpaks, DistroBox, Homebrew, etc.
So one of the advantages of this bootc stuff is that you can just build your own image. And that's something that you are doing, Chris.
So that's the difference, you see, because the KDE Linux model is slightly different to bootc, and that's why I've lent more towards bootc. Now, I want to interject here and say, we're all fully aware that there are distributions that build off of bootc, and you can build from their images, and they pack ZFS in and everything. But I am a curmudgeon. I ran Debian stable XFCE for ages. I like control and only changing things when I say. I don't like necessarily being dependent on having to run my own internal CI/CD or depend on GitHub and things like that. So the way I've approached it is very, very basic. So I installed Keenwhite, but that gives you the ability to bootc switch to something else. And then I wrote my own container file that bootstraps from Keenwhite, makes a few modifications. I install libvirt into the image because I need the networking that's close to the metal, because I need advanced network bridges and stuff for my job. So if you run it as the user space libvirt session, you get slurp networking and you just don't have the flexibility to do that. So it's that and Aptainer, which is a containerization platform for HPC. It's just easier to have it close to the metal, but it's not much. And then once I've written that container file, I build the container bootstrapped off Keenwhite, and then that is what my operating system runs on. So I never do sudo DNF update in a terminal. I do a bash script, which I've written, which makes sure that I'm bootstrapping from the latest upstream Keenwhite, adding my modifications in, sealing it off, and then making that the next OS tree deployment that boots with bootc, which you can just as easily do with a remote or local CI/CD. And that's what I was mentioning about work. That's what we would do. We'd have a registry internally that all of the nodes boot from.
But you're telling us that you don't have to use a second computer or server or whatever. It's all just on one laptop.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm about to say. If you want to dip your toes in this, even with a spare machine, as long as you have an operating system installed that is bootc compatible, you can do everything on that machine, bootstrapping from remote containers that you pull in.
And then you just tell Grub boot to that and it just does.
Yeah, that's it. And you can pin deployments if you know that, when I was having bugs with Plasma, I pinned the working ones, tried a few things out, boot into them. No, that's not good. Flip back. So as I've said before, when we've discussed this, Joe, I think on Linux After Dark, and Sean, you've said the state of GitHub these days, for example, which is a very popular, CI/CD registry for people to do this stuff. You don't want to be going, why the fuck is my image not working? Oh, it's because GitHub is down again for the 4th time this week, and the CI/CD is broken. And no, I just want to do this now, so I'm going to do it all on my machine.
But Sean, you are doing it with CI/CD then?
I am. As a software engineer, I like to make sure I do things as close to production as I can, and especially because I am a developer and an upstream contributor to the bootc and Fedora projects. I try to make sure that, like Chris, I get as close to the metal as I can. I try to do just the base Fedora image and then test all my changes on that and make sure I can give karma whatever the processes are. And honestly, it hasn't been that bad because it's taking a container file and just building an image is something that there's like a bajillion blogs out there that will tell you how to do 5 different ways a Sunday. And then like Chris said, it just pushes it to a registry and we're good as long as the registry is up. We'll see. Because if it's GitHub, I don't know. But if it's GitLab, maybe. I recommend you build your own. then that's it. And it's just like Chris said, it scales. So it doesn't matter if it's one person using it or 1,000 HPC clusters using it. It's all the same mechanism.
One thing to say, Joe, which I think is important, is that there is a repository from Boot Crew called Mono, which does have Arch, Debian, OpenSUSE, Ubuntu, bootc images that is being worked on. So building the actual bootc compatible, because you can spit out VM images, you can install it to disk, all sorts of things at the end of it. But it's not just beholden to RHEL-only distributions. And Sean, I think you've told me there's work constantly being put in to try to make it more agnostic and not just be this Red Hat Fedora ecosystem thing.
Exactly right. And that's what Joseph Morero Cachalo was out there in Ubuntu trying to show people, that he wants to inspire contributions and have people help make sure that these things are maintained for their distributions, because every distribution is reliable as long as there's a base image, right? All you have to do is just make sure you have the bootc binary, and that's it.
And I got Debian stable running in a VM. I had to use a build host running something that had SE Linux basically for the tooling to build the images. But then once I had the image, I added a flag on the end, and it wrote me out a libvirt compatible bootable disk image that I booted, and it was Debian stable. And then I could continue to use bootc tooling inside of it. So it's definitely not, hopefully, just a Red Hat pet project.
Well, it's definitely something we'll keep an eye on then. Let's do some discoveries then. Félim, H-wall, definitely not H-wall.
H-wall, yes. I think you said it wrong there. Obviously, your mic broke up at that time. Yeah, it's another way to get stats and information from your PC. I mean, is there enough? I don't think so. So this is definitely on the pile of things to try out. It comes with a GTK interface if you want the GUI one, but I built it. To build it is super easy. It's just literally a single command, and I use the -CLI version because I don't want any of that GTK muck on my system. Thank you very much. And it is a great way to amalgamate all the various sensors and outputs of various hardware and software that you've got on your machine. And there's even ways to then share it out via the likes of a JSON interface or an API that you can build on it as well. So if you were to deploy this, say, to a fleet of machines, you could then poll around them then afterwards and get all that info back. So yeah, it's quite a cool system. Lots of stuff in there. Like there's like a crazy pages worth of info from your machine. It's a bit like combining all the likes of top and the various LS CPU, LS mem, all that type of stuff together into a joint big thing.
LM sensors, all of that.
Yeah, and it's all written in Rust, so you know it is fucking brilliant.
Sean, Proton Plus.
Yeah, so I have a Steam Deck, and I've been hearing a lot of good things about FSR 4, but unfortunately it has not come to the Steam Deck officially yet. But if you download a Flatpak called Proton Plus, it'll allow you to easily change out your Proton versions. And if you use one of the more custom ones like Proton GE or the Cache Proton version, then you just have to add one flag to the startup command for your game, and that's it. You now have FSR 4, and I actually have seen a pretty big improvement even on a tiny screen like that. So maybe if you have a bigger screen, it might be worth it to you.
Joe doesn't play games, so he's banned from asking questions because he hasn't a clue. What is the reason that you would run Proton various versions? I've seen is it fried egg roll or whatever it is?
Glorious egg roll.
Glorious egg roll. Yeah, it's like I just install Steam and run it, and it runs a game I like, and they're lovely, and they even have a Linux version. I just play it. Why do I need all those other ones? Tell me.
Well, the FSR thing is upscaling, isn't it?
That's usually built into the game, no?
Usually it is. What the Proton version will do is it'll just swap out that binary that is used for the upscaling from the FSR 3 to the FSR 4 version. And that's it. That's all it does.
Okay, right. I always see the things where people go, oh yeah, you need to use Glorious Egg Roll or whatever. And I'm just like, what does that even mean? I feel fucking old when I see that type of stuff.
So Glorious Egg Roll is Thomas Kreider, who also maintains Nabara, the gaming-focused KDE distribution. And he did a very good talk in Riga at the Ubuntu Summit a few years ago that's still on YouTube about why Proton GE, how Wine works, how it's not an emulator, the translation course. I highly recommend seeking it out. That might help you elucidate. He speaks very well about it. So yeah, that would be worth checking out.
Oh, cool. Yeah, there's nothing make you feel older than watching games, people talk about games things, and you just go, I have an AMD card. Does it run on it? I don't know.
You should just join the Discord for the game, Félim, and that will definitely help and make you feel very, very
I keep
good.
getting fucking emails about, look, Isonzo, Black Mill, they make a fantastic game, and Gallipoli will be out on the 20th of August. So if you think I'm doing any show prep after 20th of August, you're very much mistaken for about 5 months. And it's a World War I simulator. It's fucking amazing. I signed up to the bloody chat server thingy you said there, which I can't even remember its name. I hate it that much. And there's just levels upon levels of rooms where I have notifications and I don't know where they are and I can't turn them off. And it's like sending me emails going, oh, you were mentioned in a post. I'm like, I was mentioned in a post. Oh no, right. Somebody just announced something.
And the longer you leave it, the worse it gets because there's just more of it. And I just watch the screen. I can't deal with this. Like, I thought that Slack in my job was a lot of notifications. It's nothing on this. Oh. It's just bing, 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 bing.
Have you
bing,
tried
bing.
Nitro, Chris? Have you tried it now? What about now? But what about now?
These are some proper old people problems.
Chris, you've decided to make Félim happy.
Yes, I've discovered KDE Plasma, Félim.
Good.
That's my discovery.
Go on.
As an XFC refugee, it's the first time, this is the third attempt I've tried to daily drive it. And the first time was Debian stable. So the bugs I got were the bugs I was stuck with for 2 years. So that lasted a week.
Oh, yeah.
I tried Kubuntu with backports, but it just wasn't quite the ticket. But yeah, finally, the 6.7 release combined with Fedora has made me now really appreciate it to the point where I find XFCE annoying to go back to, which I never thought I would do.
What?
Yes.
I love it.
High praise.
There's just too many quality of life things, Joe. Middle click to pause playback. There's little, like, I haven't changed the settings from defaults very much at all, but
Do you know what? You've just hit the nail on the head. That annoys me about everybody who talks about KDE. Oh, it has so many options. It's like, yeah, you don't have to fucking change them. Just leave them where they are. If you don't like anything, change the one you don't like, and then you're fine.
yeah, I've tweaked it a tiny bit, but I've been daily driving it now for like nearly 2 months, and none of the frustrations I had previously are present anymore. I did have a little bug in one of the upgrades, but as we've discussed, bootc made it very easy to hide on a previous point release of Plasma until the dependency chain was fixed. So sorry, Joe, you've lost another one.
I hope you enjoy all the color and looking good.
Well, multi-monitor, Joe. I accidentally overlapped 2 of my multi-monitors, which on Ubuntu Mate and XFCE would make everything crash and it looked like the end of winning solitaire on Windows 3.11. Like when you drag a window, it would make like Windows, and Windows all over the place. With this, like, I was like, what's gone wrong there? That's weird. When I drag the window, it's on both. Oh, I've slightly overlapped the 2 external displays in the layout. So I just moved them so they were touching and it was one continuous screen and it was fine. It's little things like that. And knowing now that, yeah, of course, you know, Wayland might be coming one day and there might be issues with that, but it's been really pleasurable. My colleague who was there when I tried before said, I give you 2 weeks, but it's great.
Well, I hope you really enjoy your lack of screen tearing. Can't believe you called XFCE annoying.
Well, it is. It's missing bits now. Missing bits I expect. Like KDE Connect is now part of my daily life. I know you can get it going on XFCE, but it's not quite as integrated, is it?
There's nothing better for sending a news story to the PC while you're on the jacks having a long sit to use than KDE Connect. And it is actually the only way I can get files off my phone because no matter what I have tried, Bluetooth, anything, nah, it's just not having it.
And the shared clipboard and the fact you can use it as a remote and all of this stuff, you know. So that's it. He's won. Those KDE corners over the weeks have finally ground me down.
Yes.
Well, I suspect I will follow you at some point, but I just haven't found the right platform for it yet. Maybe this bootc shit is going to be how I do it, but I suppose we'll see.
Congrats, Félim. It only took you 398 episodes.
I know. Maybe that's my 400 there. I'm just going to go in and spike the ball at the touchdown end zone basket hoop. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I'm going to do it.
Right, well, on that positive note, we should probably get out of here then. Thank you once again, Chris and Sean. It's been great having you.
Been lovely to be here.
Thank you for having us.
We'll be back next week for episode 400, when who knows what we'll end up doing. Until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Félim.
I've been Chris.
And I've been Sean.
See you later.